This program is sponsored by Dave Stahl.
It's time to get educated on your Second Amendment right. It's time to get locked and loaded with 2 full hours of Gun Sports Radio. Your hosts Dave Stahl, Lance Pelkey, and Michael Schwartz will teach you anything and everything there is to know about firearms, self-defense, and the laws that affect your American right to own and bear arms. Visit gunsportsradio.com with your questions and comments or to learn how to become a sponsor and or guest of the show. Now, here's your hosts, Dave, Lance, and Michael.
All right, folks, welcome to Gun Sports Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hey, folks, look for our shows on your favorite podcast platform. It's simple at gunsportsradio.com. That's gunsportsradio.com. Please remember to stick around for the second action-packed hour of Gun Sports Radio at 5 p.m. Pacific Time. And this first hour is brought to you by Firearms Legal Protection. Firearms Legal Protection is the best legal protection for self-defense. Check them out at their website at firearmslegal.com. Hey, folks, California assault weapon laws make it almost impossible to own an AR pattern rifle. What is the solution? Cali Key. It'll convert any mil-spec direct impingement AR pattern rifle into a straight pull-bolt action rifle so it can have all the features without being considered an assault weapon. It's a true drop-in solution. No milling, no aesthetic modifications, and no turning off your gas system. It'll keep your entire AR collection intact at a price you can afford with Cali Key. Check out Cali Key at calikey.com. That's KALIKEY.com. All right, guys. So what's been going on? It's kind of boring lately out there.
Well, we're all so socially distant.
Yes, we are. We are so distant and socially.
But if you notice, we all have haircuts.
You notice?
Yeah. How did that happen?
Well, my girl has a little room, like 12 by 14, that she's had for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's a one-on-one. There's never a crowd. And it's in a complex where there's no other people in there. It's kind of cool.
See, we had a patriot come to the house there and set it up in the backyard.
Cut your hair?
She was masked up, which I didn't care, but
just waiting for the
made her feel better.
And it's great to get your hair cut in the wind.
So it seemed to work.
Don't have to use a blower. And you did your own. You got I get a Flowbee?
I got clippers, but my wife did it.
She did a great job.
Didn't she do it? She kind of did a great job.
She really did a good job. Tell her
it kind of looks good.
She could quit her day job and open up a beauty shop.
That's right. Everybody as long as they want my haircut, she's good to go.
What'd she charge you?
Oh
yeah.
A life, an arm and a leg and a life. And nothing. It's awesome. She did a great job. It was actually kind of.
She really did.
You want to hear something? It was actually kind of fun. Your wife and she's cutting hair and we're laughing. And
you put your bowl on your head.
Put the bowl on the head.
Yeah.
Had to go get a bigger bowl. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It is an interesting week. The weeks are. We're doing a lot of things. San Diego County Gun Owners is doing a lot of things to get ready for more Facebook Live events. Which, by the way, we're Facebook Live right now on our San Diego County Gun Owners Facebook page. Mm-hmm. But we've been doing CCW seminars, and Tuesday, we have a very special Zoom interview with Senator Brian Jones. He's going to talk about what's going on in Sacramento, and he's got a very exciting announcement. The only catch is you have to be a 10-ring member of San Diego County Gun Owners or any one of the packs, San Diego, San Bernardino, Riverside, Orange County. You have to be a 10-ring member to get the invite for the Zoom event on Tuesday. So, Dare, are you going to be there? What do you got going on Tuesday night?
I don't think I have anything, but
you should sign on.
I know. What's it take to become a 10-ringer?
10-ring member is that is our premier membership, and it is either $100 a month or $1,000 per year, or you can sponsor a champagne-level table at our Gun Prom, Second Amendment Celebration Dinner, and that comes with a 10-ring membership.
Really?
Yep. So, and the early bird special, so a champagne table is normally $5,000 for the last, 4 years we've had this dinner. They've been $5,000. We dropped the price to $3,000. You still get all the benefits of a $5,000 table, and including the 10-ring membership, including a $5,000 ticket package, champagne with dinner, and you're front and center and right in front of the podium and advertising mentions and all that other good stuff, but it's only $3,000.
So what does San Diego County Gun Owner do with the money once they raise it?
Excellent question. So we have, I don't know if you've heard, we have this election coming up in November.
Yeah, you think?
And it's huge, especially the local boards and councils.
Yeah.
Only a few of them, only 2 cities in San Diego have a primary. Most of the cities are elected in the general in November. So we're going to have a ton. We just released on Friday, we just put up a new list of endorsements. We're going to add to that probably around early August after the filing date. There's a date when it's a drop dead date. You have to either have filed and said you're a candidate or you're not on the ballot. Mm-hmm. So the week that happens, we'll add to it. But we get the right people elected. You know, we run our organization. We do all kinds of things to make sure you can get CCWs, that you can shoot on public lands, that you can, you know how to get your CCW. All these different things that we do. We train women to get a gun, to, you know, get the proper training, to get a CCW, all those, you know, engage with media, all those important things that we do. But then we take that money, we take the membership dues, and we help support the right candidates. We promote the endorsement list that we've vetted, and we get them elected.
We know, and sometimes people, too, I think, don't realize the importance of the local elections, the people in the city councils and things like that, because you get the wrong people in there and it can make things miserable. I mean, we've seen that experience around here now. And the other thing, too, is a lot of times there's not a whole lot of information on those people. I mean, everybody knows who they're going to vote for governor, for senator or congressman or something like that. But it's a lot harder to find that kind of information for the, the local people, the supervisors and things like that. So it's really important, I think.
And very few people start out at the top, Newsom.
Well, unless you're related to somebody.
Yeah, or you're, Trump.
Yeah.
First day in an elected office was president of the United States.
Well, he was stepping down to do that, right?
He kind of was, wasn't he?
That's a really good point, yeah, because he didn't climb the ladder.
Well, and we talk about it all the time. People complain about some anti-gun bill that's being proposed or whatever. And I point out, okay, well, look at the people that authored this bill. Where did they start? Well, they were on a city council somewhere. Maybe they're on a school board before that. Mm-hmm. By the time they're in Sacramento, you have so little power to influence or get the,
You can't get near them.
You can't get near them.
Yeah.
But school board member or city council member, a lot of these guys are begging for attention.
And just about anybody can run for those offices, I've noticed.
Yeah. Yep.
I just have a friend of mine. He's running for a school board in San Marcos, and I'm thinking, what are the qualifications?
Who is it? Be sure I get their name. I want to make sure we talk to that
Epperson.
person. Yeah.
Brian Epperson.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew his dad, Mick Epperson. He's big in the car sales, and Brian worked for San Diego Auto Collection. Good kid.
Is he a gun guy?
I don't know if he is or not.
Yeah,
I'll have to find out.
Let's find out.
But you bring up another point, and that is, when we say we're looking for somebody that's a gun enthusiast, we're talking about the correct gun enthusiast, somebody that believes in Second Amendment rights. Doesn't have to be a wild shooter, just has to believe in the rights and the legal aspect of owning a gun.
Yeah, we have a questionnaire. We sit down and talk to them. We sit down and talk to their staff. And we have 3 criteria. We want to make sure that they're pro-Second Amendment. We want to make sure that they're viable. And we want to make sure that they have the character to run for office.
And it's interesting, folks. I can tell you as an outsider, he doesn't endorse anybody unless they have been vetted to death. I mean, you're brutal. I mean, you are literally, I'm glad I'm not running for office because it would hurt.
Well, I'll tell you, I've had some people, I've made some phone calls and said, hey, congratulations, we voted and you're endorsed. And had people surprised. Like, really? I didn't think you liked me, Like, hey, be tough on them now, when it matters.
Yeah, get them used to it.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, I've had some people I've called up, or usually people call me and say, hey, I didn't see my name on the list. And I said, yeah, we didn't endorse you.
Nope.
Yeah, but why?
But why?
Well,
have you got an hour?
Yeah, really.
Let's talk about it.
But I'm a Republican. I hear that. I'm a Republican.
What does that have to do with anything? Yeah, especially nowadays. I mean,
it's not good enough anymore, is it?
No, it's not good enough at all. So, yeah. Well, I tell you, folks, if he joins, and it's not a sales pitch, because you can get in for as little as $10 a month.
Yep.
You can't even buy breakfast for $10.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
You almost, I don't smoke, but you can't buy a pack of cigarettes for $10.
And speaking of good candidates, too, our next segment coming up, Congressman Darrell Issa is running in the 50th. If you're a listener to Gun Sports Radio, just a couple weeks ago, we interviewed his opponent. So now we're going to interview him in the next segment.
Ooh, can't wait. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, a whole lot more right here on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
So I can't say... All right, folks, welcome back. This is Gun Sports Radio. We're missing Lance Pelkey today, folks, but he is busy, so he'll be back next Sunday. But we got Michael Schwartz and Joe Germisi in the house. And what's the best defense for self-defense in those horrible new red flag laws? Firearms legal protection. Mike, Lance, and I use them. Firearms Legal Protection is a legal defense program for lawful gun owners with a 24/7 emergency hotline and plans designed specifically for the firearms owner. Talk to the good folks at Firearms Legal Protection today. That's Firearms Legal Protection at firearmslegal.com or call it 469-310-9100. That's 469-310-9100 or firearmslegal.com. Gun owners, be ready with a lawyer in your corner. Hey, folks, the refi bell has been ringing for many days now. Home mortgage interest rates have dropped to a historic low. And if you're looking to buy or refi, or if you're considering a reverse mortgage, you need to call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. That's Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. Call Chris Wiley at 619-722-1303 or primeres.com/Alpine. All right, Michael, who you got for your special guest today?
Well, you may have seen our next guest on Fox News or any one of the cable news.
Hey, he's been on KUSI.
Been on KUSI.
Fox News stuff.
But I think most interesting, you may have seen him on the Bill Maher show.
Really?
Yeah, which I want to talk to him about. It's Congressman Darrell Issa. Are you there?
I sure am.
How are you, sir?
Yes, it's good. It's Bill Maher's kind of gone off the deep end.
Yeah, I think.
Even for Bill Maher, for years, and I don't want to dwell on it, but for years, Republicans would go on, and there'd be like 4 Democrats surrounding us, but they would let us at least get a point out, and you could change some hearts and minds on some important issues. But today, it's just Bill Maher being mean. And it's a shame because he's not funny as a result.
Correct.
And I grew up with George Carlin, and to me, you can completely disagree on a subject and still enjoy a good comedian. He's just lost it right now, and if he's listening, as he should be, he needs to wise up and get funny again.
Right.
Bill Maher listens to our show, so I know he's out there listening. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I totally agree because, let's face it, humor is the best medicine. And that guy lost his medical bag, let me tell you.
So what was the reason? I'm just curious. Why? When you're in office, you're a congressman, you're getting, what they refer to as earned media. They're meaning that different cable shows are reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, we want you to come on and talk." What is the motivation for going on a show like Bill Maher? Which, by the way, I applaud you for doing. But I'm just curious, what's the discussion behind the doors? What made you do it?
I was on 13 times over 14 years, starting in 2003, basically when I went on. During the recall of Gray Davis. And, he was totally a Democrat in California who couldn't understand why anyone would get rid of somebody as inept and indecisive as Gray Davis as the lights went out. And I went on to explain to him that, if you're part of the lights going out on your state, you probably should be asked to leave for somebody who can at least, keep your state from going bankrupt. Oh, you know what? We've got the same thing going again, don't we?
I was just going to say, how long are we going to put up with this? We're
not putting up with it. You can go anywhere, not just not just a gun shop. You can go anywhere, including liberal Encinitas right now, and you're going to see people who their mask is around their neck or in their pocket. They're socializing. They're in bars. They're standing in restaurants. They're basically ignoring stay home little by little, and that's not conservatives. That's not people who failed to vote for Newsom. That's people who voted for this governor who know that the numbers don't support the continued quarantine of the American people in California.
So okay, just to clarify, everybody, you're running for Congress in the 50th, which is out East County and inland north. It even covers San Marcos and up into Riverside. It's the seat that Duncan Hunter left.
The best way to look at it is until 2012, it was three people's district. East County was Duncan Hunter. San Marcos and Escondido was Brian Bilbray, and Temecula and all that other rural area, all the tribal areas was mine. And they redistricted it in 2013, and it belonged to the two Hunters after that. But it's going to be where I serve again for a number of years.
And talk about why should gun owners vote for you?
Track record matters. I know you had my opponent on, and he's a gun owner and says he's a different kind of Democrat. But the reality is that he worked in the Obama administration, which couldn't have been more anti-gun rights. He's got plenty of pictures with Bernie Sanders, which, by the way, is actually good. Bernie's not the worst in the Democratic Party. But the reality is that he's going to join, if he's elected, he's going to join a party that consistently, as a party, attacks, whether it's Michael Bloomberg or whatever, Second Amendment rights. On the other hand, I have 18 years of a 100% pro-Second Amendment voting record. I didn't just get the NRA's support. I was featured and spoke at their national convention and was awarded their highest award because I've been there fighting, including in the situation with Fast and Furious, where if the Obama administration had had their wish, they would have gotten a new assault weapons ban, justifying it based on the guns that they were shipping to Mexico illegally. And we were able to show it and push back. So, I think if you serve on judiciary for 18 years where your constitutional rights are protected, and, you have probably 1,000, including all the amendments, votes, you're pretty well defined. So I would say, he's going to promise you he's going to be a different kind of Democrat. I've shown that I'm exactly the kind of pro-Second Amendment person that you want, and 18 years of 100% isn't an accident.
I think that's excellent. I really do. What about some priorities when you, if you get elected in November and are honored to serve the folks of East County and North San Diego? What are some Second Amendment priorities that you'd like to, maybe let's split it up. What's possible, and what would you like to see, and then what do you think is possible? Well,
look, it's possible that we can continue preserving people's rights. It's possible that with President Trump getting another term, that we won't just have a court that will make decisions like they made twice in Washington, D.C. to restore Second Amendment rights when those had been taken, but that we'll get additional cases that would take on, for example, the idea that states can define for the federal government what your gun rights are. And that's probably the biggest one. And the easiest way to look at it is I respect federalism, but states have to respect interstate commerce. I represented the Marines of Camp Pendleton for 18 years. Those Marines, whether they're at Camp Lejeune or they're at Quantico or wherever in the world, or they're in Afghanistan and Iraq, when they get orders to come into California, as you can imagine, they bring their personal firearms. Almost without fail, at least one of their personal firearms, usually a rifle, is illegal, or its magazine is illegal under California law. That's got to change, and it's going to take a court, and the court's going to come from a president, and President Trump has proven that even though he used to be a Democrat, and he used to be on the wrong side of a lot of issues if you listen to his earlier speeches 20, 30 years ago. He has solidly supported the Second Amendment, and that means that the judges fairly interpreting the Constitution are going to make the same decision you and I make, which is we may not like everything the First Amendment allows people to say, but we know that as long as the First and Second Amendment are equally preserved, our republic will continue to be the place that where we can have that debate.
Yeah, and let's face it, the Democratic Party back when he was part of it is not the Democratic Party of today.
No, there was a time when I came to Congress in January of 2001, and we had peace and prosperity, and the Democratic Party had just voted along party lines for the assault weapons ban. It was in place. It was one of the hallmark pieces of legislation of the first 2 years of the Clinton administration. And guess what? We were able to get it to expire, and there were a number of blue dogs that agreed with us. Mm-hmm. Almost every one of those blue dogs is gone now. And that's one of the challenges in Congress is, when you simply are talking about what does the Constitution say, it used to be that the definition of a blue dog was they would fairly read it and usually agree with most Republicans. A couple of Republicans would go off the reservation and not understand it, but you would make up for it by having thoughtful Democrats, with the exception of maybe Colin Peterson. Just a handful. These guys are gone. Mm-hmm. Nancy Pelosi has driven them out of the party.
It would seem that way.
Yeah, it sure does.
So we have you for one more segment. Yeah. I want to make sure that we ask you more questions. I do appreciate everything you've done for the Second Amendment. I want to ask you more questions on what's going to happen after you get elected in November, because I think right now you're the front runner. I think the district and your message, I think it resonates well. So I think you're definitely the front runner. And I want to talk about what happens after you get into office. But we're gonna hold you over for a short break and get right back to you.
All right, buddy, hang on. We're gonna come right back, folks. You're listening to Gun Sports Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
All right, folks, welcome back. You're listening to Gun Sports Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Oh, yeah, I almost did it without you. Sorry about that. Stepped all over his toes.
That's all right.
Hey, folks, have you been to A.O. Sword Firearms? Well, thousands of pandemic panic buyers just found out what San Diego shooters already knew. A.O. Sword Firearms in El Cajon has the widest selection of guns in the county. They have hundreds of different new and used guns in stock and everything you could want for an AR-15, whether you're looking for the latest competition rifle, combat pistol, or collectible cowboy iron. You'll find it all at A.O. Sword. They're also a professional gunsmith with a full machine shop. They can clean, repair, upgrade, or even customize your gun, including Cerakote. A.O. Sword Firearms is at 929 East Main Street, just off Mollison in El Cajon. Best of all, they are friendly, informed, and actively support your rights. See for yourself with their legal and technical updates on Facebook. Check out aosword.com or call 619-749-4867. And by the way, folks, if you have legal matters that involve anything gun-related, you need to call the law offices of the Dillon Law Group. John Dillon, Red Flag Laws, gun registration, gun transportation, and storage. Call all our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. 760-642-7150. That's 760-642-7150. Or you can visit his website at DillonLawGP.com. That's DillonLawGP.com. Let John Dillon do the gunning for you. All right.
So we're talking with Congressman Darrell Issa, and who's running for election in the 50th Congressional District. And Darrell, I met you on the campaign trail a few years ago, and at an event. But the first time I actually heard you was in the early 90s when I was actually in high school, and a buddy of mine pulls up in his brand new truck, and he was showing off his brand new security system in his brand new truck. And it was this really cool security system. If you got too close to the truck would actually say, it would say, "Protected by Viper, stand back." And years later, I found out that was your company and your voice, right?
Absolutely. And, the protecting things we care about is important. And that's why we're having this particular half hour, is that not only does the Second Amendment protect people's person, but, they protect our liberties. And I did have 20 years of building a security and electronics company that continues to this day. And I've now had 20 years of trying to protect our rights in Washington.
Which was the harder job?
When you're only dealing with car thieves, you're working with a better class of people.
I couldn't help myself, and I had no idea that you started Viper. And folks, that's one of the number one, and it is the number one security system for your car. So, job well done.
Well, it's the ingenuity of the person trying to stop the car thief and the ingenuity of the car thief have to be matched. And, the ingenuity of those who want to redefine our Constitution, not just the Second Amendment, but piece by piece, all of those things make it a living document rather than an original intent. It's the same sort of thing. I'll never forget, Anthony Weiner was on Judiciary, and you can imagine, as famous as he became later for his pictures, he was a clever guy who was constantly coming up with amendments that sounded harmless until you dug into them and realized that there's a reason that we don't amend the Constitution, is that the reality is we have what we want in this country, which is a level of freedom without anarchy. It works. And we expect the people we send to Washington to protect that level of freedom. Most people that are listening in your audience, they don't want anything from the government except for the government not to do them harm. Mm-hmm. They want what they were given from God, to be protected from their government taking it away. And that's what our founding fathers believed. It took them hundreds of years of fighting despots, kings, to come up with the language that they came up with. It wasn't spontaneous overnight. I always remind people that the British gave us our form of government by showing us all the mistakes that came before us. And, I often feel that that's the reason that we still have such a great kinship with the British, is that they didn't get everything we got, but most of what we got because of their efforts.
And you're very appreciative of your efforts, especially when it comes to the Second Amendment. Indisputable that you've stood up for various areas of the Second Amendment when they came along. Very much appreciative of that. One question I have to ask you, sure. It gets a little heated. A lot of people are not happy with the idea that you didn't run in your old district. They don't feel you supported the candidate in your old district enough. And now you're running in another district, in East County. How do you respond to those? And these are people in the district, in the 50th district, that kind of are frustrated by that idea. And I think that there are also people in your old district that are frustrated, and people that are a part of the Republican Party that are frustrated. How do you respond to that?
Well, first of all, when I announced that I would be joining the Trump administration and I wouldn't be running for re-election, there were some people who came and said, "Oh, we're going to miss you." But at that time, nobody, including Diane Harkey, who vied to be my successor and I endorsed and gave her money and raised money for her, nobody seemed to have an objection. To be honest, Diane had won numerous races, including every single voter in the district. She had won overwhelmingly when she was selected. She did not prevail, and I have only one regret, which is that on Election Day, I was on television at 4 p.m. in Washington, and I predicted that because the party hadn't put money in, because she'd never been close, she lost by 13 points, I predicted that, no, she was not going to prevail. That was a mistake. And everyone in their political career makes a mistake now and then. So to everybody, including Diane, it didn't make the difference between her winning and losing, but it's a mistake, and you own up to your mistakes when you make them. It was only a mistake to accept a nomination from Donald J. Trump to serve in his administration. It was only a mistake to go see him in Trump Towers before he was elected. It was only a mistake to campaign for him, even in a district that he lost by 9%, only for one reason, is I had no idea that I was going to be blocked by Senator Menendez of New Jersey, and that the Senate wouldn't have the guts to tell him to go take a walk and overrule his committee veto. That was a mistake, I got to tell you, I couldn't have made, because I served on foreign affairs for 18 years, including with Bob Menendez. I didn't expect foreign affairs, which is normally pretty nonpartisan, to do that. But Menendez didn't just do it to me. He did it to countless ambassador nominations of President Trump. And so why am I running in the 50th? I'm running in the 50th because, contrary to what my opponent says, I'm not old, I'm not tired, I'm not ready to go sit in a rocking chair. And because I didn't get confirmed for a position in the Trump administration, bringing honest government to other countries, which is what he had nominated me initially for, I'm going back where I can, quite frankly, help drain the swamp. And, the president's never needed, and more than he does now, investigations to go forward into a series of unlawful events that have gone on, even while he was president. If you think about it, the actions on the last day of the Obama administration, unmasking General Flynn, those are terrible. But imagine this. The next day, Jeff Sessions is the Attorney General, and that organization has continued, along with the Defense Intelligence and others, continued to undermine the president, leaked and wrongfully disclosed things time and time again. If you look at what the president calls pencil neck, Adam Schiff, everything Adam Schiff got away with, he got away with because holdovers from the Obama administration and people that are deeply embedded have continued to undermine this president in a way that is wrong at best, criminal in many cases, and not living up to their oath of the Constitution, no matter what.
I think that brings up a couple more questions. One is, if when you're elected, what Republicans have been so frustrating. They don't, the leadership, there's a huge lack of leadership. They seem to, roll over to Democrats even when they're in the majority. So two questions. One is, if and when you get elected, what are you going to do to make sure that your office is as responsive to the voters in your district as Duncan Hunter's was? And two, what will you do to make sure that there's some leadership by Republicans on all levels to make sure that, some of these things don't happen, like what you just described?
Well, first of all, you lead by leading, you lead by inspiring. If I put a call in right now to Jim Jordan or Mark Meadows or any of the other people who came up through the ranks as my subcommittee members, they would all tell you that we led the fight for the years that I chaired, ranking member and then chaired the Oversight Committee. We led the fight, and we led the fight with John Boehner, then Speaker, and then Paul Ryan later, but calling us knuckleheads, telling people not to give to our campaign committees, doing everything they could to make us less of an inconvenience. But just as Jim Jordan never stopped fighting, eventually Devin Nunes discovered, that he had to be on our side, not playing nicey, and he became a real fighter. Those people become the next generation's models. And that's what you do. The amount of times I was called to Boehner's office and told, it was wrong and you shouldn't do it and so on. You looked and said, I'm going to have a discussion with the speaker. But at the end of the day, I've got to do the job. I've seen the evidence. I know why I'm doing these investigations. I know where the wrong is. And so do my subcommittee people. When we took on Lois Lerner in the IRS, I cannot tell you how many times the Ways and Means Committee, which is a tax committee, kept saying, oh, no, we'll handle this. But they had already decided that there was no there as to all the Tea Party groups in the United States. And we looked and said, yes, there is. And we're going to continue pursuing it. And we never let up on it. And that particularly was one of the things where Jordan held a lot of the hearings in addition to mine. But we do those things. I was the only chairman during the entire time we were in the majority, from 2008 on. I was the only chairman to hold anyone in contempt, and I held both Lois Lerner and Eric Holder in contempt. The important thing isn't that I held him in contempt. The important thing is when Eric Holder came to the floor, we not only were able to successfully hold him in contempt, but we got Democrats, 12 Democrats to vote with us. The fact is, you lead and people will follow if the truth is on your side.
Okay, we have 1 minute. What about responsiveness to your constituency, the folks in the district? I have a lot of issues with Duncan Hunter and everything that happened, and it was very frustrating. But one thing I never had an issue with Duncan Hunter's office was how responsive they were. If somebody had a problem and he agreed with you, they were all over it. What can we expect from Darrell Issa's office in the 50th?
Well, we call that casework and constituent work, and the history of my doing it is not only fabulous, but one of his lead people he hired when I retired, Amy Walker, and she's going to stay on. She's continued on in his staff and presumably would stay on in mine. But having the right team to be able to do it is important. Here's the other part of it. Duncan Hunter, when he came in as a freshman, he looked to all of us to help him get the job done. One of the advantages you have when you have 18 years of seniority, when every other chairman or ranking member, depending upon whether we get the majority, these are people that are either your classmates you came into Congress with, or you have 18 or 20 years of working with them. When you make a phone call and say, I need your help, you get it. Even today, literally every day, including today, I'm able to call people who used to be on my staff, or I knew them when they were on somebody else's staff, and now they're high-ranking in the Trump administration. I make a phone call, and because I've been there and been fighting, they help us, and we're doing that every day right now. So that's soft power you build over 18 years. I know it took more than a minute. Nope,
that's good. I think people need to hear it. People need to hear what you just said, because there are people wonder. People want to know. The district was kind of blindsided by what happened with Duncan Hunter, and they're used to some good things, and they're concerned about some bad things. And this is the first time they've had an open seat in years, and this is the first time they've had somebody not named Hunter running in decades. So I think it's a concern. But I really do appreciate your time, and I really do appreciate your Second Amendment track record in Congress. And I hope, are we going to see it at our Second Amendment celebration dinner on August 15th?
If they let us come in person, I will be there. If I have to be 6 feet away, I'll be there. Close with one thing. The Hunters, Duncan Hunter Sr., Duncan Hunter Jr., they both cared about the men and women of in uniform, the people who served for their entire careers. They both served, as I did, in the military. And of all the things that district has represented and will continue to represent under my leadership is support for the men and women who have served their country.
Excellent. Congressman Darrell Issa running in the 50th.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Talk to you down the road. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, a whole lot more right here on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Folks, welcome back to Gun Sports Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hey, what's the best defense for self-defense? Of those horrible new red flag laws, firearms legal protection. Mike, Lance, Joe, and I use them. Firearms Legal Protection is a legal defense program for lawful gun owners with a 24/7 emergency hotline and plans designed specifically for the firearms owner. Talk to the good folks at Firearms Legal Protection today. That's Firearms Legal Protection at firearmslegal.com, or call them at 469-310-9100. That's 469-310-9100. Firearmslegal.com. Gun owners, be ready with a lawyer in your corner. This segment is brought to you by the good folks at the Gun Range San Diego, 7853 Balboa Avenue in San Diego, 10 to 10, 7 days a week. TheGunRangeSanDiego.com, TheGunRangeSanDiego.com. In fact, we have our very, very special guest on the line, Jason. And what are you up to there, bud?
Hey, well, this is what it sounds like when the Jason cries and we don't have enough guns for all of our customers. Great choice, by the way, Mike. Yeah, we're doing fine. We are super busy. Finally getting those really good guns in. Mossberg 500s, 590s, all the cool stuff. And I'm also really proud to say that we are officially a Glock Blue Label dealer now. That means a lot of law enforcement, a lot of military guys and girls. They all get special discounts on Glock pistols.
So who qualifies for that?
So any active duty or retired, active reservists in the military, all law enforcement, certain security personnel, EMTs, all the emergency service stuff that we really need to support right now.
And if they come in and they want a Glock and they qualify for the Blue Label special, that means they'll get it for a few bucks off, right?
More than a few, quite a bit off. Yeah, they get a really good discount on that. As long as it's in stock, this is the place to come if you want to buy a Glock.
Good, awesome. So who's buying right now? Are we through the rush of panic buying, and are we back to normal customers, or give us the temperature?
Well, it's it's still hot. Still hot. A lot of people are still buying. Now, instead of more panic buying, now it's a lot more, I want to say much more practical buying. People are really putting in research now. This is the point where a lot of people who have just been researching these past couple months are starting to come out and say, okay, I've been looking at this gun, this shotgun, pistol, whatever. Just wanted to know if you had it. They've put in all that time in researching the guns, and then they're grabbing them. Most of those are going to be shotguns or a more common practical pistol, like a Glock, a Springfield XD, something like that.
So what's the difference between? I have a Mossberg 500 and I love it. I really love it. What's the difference between? Tell everybody what the difference is. Why would somebody get a 590 and a 500? Is there a significant difference? Is there a niche one of them fills, the other one doesn't?
Oh, there's not much of a difference. The 500 is like the basic Mossberg 500 model shotgun. That's like their bread and butter. The 590 is a very slightly beefed up version. There's a couple of versions of the 590. There's a 590 and then the 590A1, which is actually what I believe the Army and the military uses that as a pump shotgun. But really, really beefed up shotgun. 590 also has a bayonet lug. If you want to get something, say like if you're into what I'm into, like vintage stuff, like a trench gun, 20-inch shotgun with a heat shield, wood stock, that kind of thing. That's when you get a 590. It's just a little bit tougher and will last longer.
Is the trigger, what do you call it? The trigger mechanism, the whole trigger system, is it different on a 500 and a 590?
I want to say the 500 tends to veer more towards more plastic bits, like the trigger guard. Some 590s have plastic trigger guards. Some of them have metal. That's it. Just real small differences, but the little things that count.
Is there a significant price difference between a 500 and a 590?
A regular 590 is only maybe, it just depends which model. It's a whole series of guns, but they can be anywhere from like 50 to like 150 more. It just depends which one you get.
So the 500s, you're bumping the night, good old fashioned home
like
defense,
4 to 5 round.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the basic one, anywhere from 4 to 6 rounds. There are even 8-round models. 590s, just a little beefier.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I looked at the 590 like it was a replacement for the 500, but they are different enough, and they're
just a little bit
different enough to where they both have their place.
Yeah. Just think of it as like a Honda Civic versus a Civic SI. Just, slightly higher trim. That's it.
I have thought about dropping that metal trigger group from the 590 into my 500.
That's a pretty cool investment. I always like that kind of thing. I'm a sucker for steel. So when I had Beretta, I bought the metal parts kit and replaced all the plastic bits with the metal ones, and just felt a lot more solid. Steel guide rod, that kind of thing.
So on a home defense gun, tactical home defense gun, I actually just had a discussion about this a couple days ago.
Yeah.
What's the typical optic, or people typically run optics on that, or what's the most popular configuration you see on a tactical or a home defense shotgun?
Well, a shotgun, what you want to typically do is you want to figure out if you like a pistol grip or it's a regular, old-fashioned shotgun stock. I prefer the old-fashioned stock because you can kind of keep the shotgun closer to you. It kind of doesn't really torque your wrist the same way the pistol grip does, but that's just a preference. Second thing I'd recommend is a sling. I prefer having a sling on any long gun. It just really helps with stability. You don't really run an optic on a shotgun unless you're like in the Midwest or the East Coast where they hunt with them with scopes, slug guns, that kind of thing. Over here, you just need the bead or fiber optic sight, whatever the shotgun comes with. Yeah.
Yep. I'm in agreement. Especially home defense, you're making shots that are as long as your longest hallway. So it's not.
You take the longest room. Yeah, you take the longest room in your longest room or hallway, and you're wherever you live, and just practice with that at the range. I'd be very surprised if you missed. That's the beauty of the shotgun.
Interesting. I appreciate that. And I think that maybe even more important on a home defense or on a home defense shotgun is what kind of flashlight you throw on there.
Some people like to go real hardcore. They get a Surefire X300, something like that. They'll throw that on there. Any shotgun with a rail system, flashlight is probably the single most important accessory you could have. A light just really, really. Just imagine you're in somebody's house trying to steal their stuff, trying to hurt them, whatever, and you hear this shotgun pump, and there's a flashlight on the end of it. Just imagine how unsettling that must be.
Yeah.
Especially a strobing light.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Yeah, real fun to. I'm all about accessorizing just guns, guns and cars.
I can tell. So hey, how are we doing with our dross?
It's still taking 16, 17 days for some people, but we're dealing with it.
Just keep fighting the good fight, my friend.
Oh yeah, we will.
All right. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Gun Range San Diego, folks. It's the Nordstroms of gun ranges, just not the price. Right here on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
This program is sponsored by Dave Stahl.